atmosphere out there in Wijk.
And we are getting our first moves of the sixth round of the 2024 Tata Steel Chess Masters. This is the first Super Grandmaster tournament of the year. As David mentioned, it's a mix of elite talent as well as youngsters. And we also have the women's world champion, Ju Jun, who has left her mark on this tournament already by beating one of the best players. One game in front of us, David. It is Anish Giri against Parham Maghsoodloo. And we saw knight f3 by Anish, and no response from Parham. Do you think he's truly surprised, or what's his deal? Why hasn't he made his first move?
Yeah, it's always puzzling when a player pauses as early as move one. In the case of Vidit, it tends to be because he's meditating for a few seconds here and there. Often players pause if they are surprised by a first move. In recent times, Anish, he plays everything: e4, d4, c4. Maybe now Parham's wondering about what move orders to avoid. If he's got a opening plan, maybe this will throw a bit of a spanner in the works. Knight f3 tends to be very, very flexible and a bit clever at avoiding certain openings. Hesitation, Robert.
Yeah, and I kind of thought he was grabbing his C pawn. And if he plays C5, to your point, what openings to go for, what to avoid, we could see Anish play E4, and then we get into a Sicilian. So Parham, he plays the Sicilian for sure, but was he expecting that today? Does he want that against Anish? It's a real question. What opening, what style does Parham want to go down?
Yeah, it depends on his mood as well. And often when you've been having a tough tournament, as Parham has been doing so far, you don't really want to prepare too much in the mornings. You just want to turn up, do your thing, and hope your luck changes. But it's very surprising to see such indecision this early. And in the end, it's the D pawn instead. So a more solid approach, avoiding any potential transpositions to the Sicilian. And Anish, okay, he doesn't go back into a queen's pawn opening. It is a pure reti. Pawn to g3. He's getting ready to fianchetto his bishop. And a slower start to this game.
Right, we'll see White fianchetto the bishop. He's ready to promote his pawn to a queen. It's not going to be winning, but the fans, they still are in the playing hall in De Morian in the Netherlands, in Wijk because they love to watch these top players in action.
Okay, we're assuming a draw here, Robert. Prediction time. Will Anish Giri go on to retain his title? Will he win Wijk yet again?
Oh, you really are putting me on the spot. That is, his chances to win are great because he's in first place and he hasn't lost a single game. But as we saw a year ago, Nadirbek Abdusattorov seemed like he had things under control until the very last round when Jordan van Forest had his say. So I'm, copping out of this one. I'm just going to say that any player in the field can beat anyone else, and that's what makes this so fun and makes it hard to predict. But the way Anish has been playing, I don't see why he can't repeat as winner. As hungry as Alireza Firouzja is, as well as some of the youngsters have played, he's in first place. He's a half point ahead of Alireza. Everyone else trails by at least a point. So inside track is Anish Giri's.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree, partly because I don't see anyone putting on the type of kind of winning streak that might be required to overhaul Anish Giri. But this is the first moment of doubt. If you asked me before today's broadcast, I would have said Anish Giri, he's going to win the tournament. He's the man on fire. It's home territory. But yeah, it's just some indecision in the conversion stage of this one. A bit of a death stare there from Parham Maghsoodloo. Wondering why Anish is playing on. But today might be the first doubt for Anish Giri himself that he is going to coast towards another tournament victory. This black pawn too far advanced. It's going to cost white his rook now.
One last trick. If the king comes to e6, do not play pawn to b2 because the rook will come to b7 and scoop it up. So you have to bring your king in first. If you're Parham Maghsoodloo, it doesn't matter because Anish brought his rook back. Now it's super obvious. b2 will just lose the pawn. Don't do that. The black king should march forward and help escort the pawn to the other side.
Yeah. Parham again staring down Anish Giri. Love to see that face, but yeah, he does support his pawn with his king. Teamwork here. The king and pawn together have to march. You cannot go solo and push your pawn too far forward. And unfortunately, look at this white king. It cannot bypass. It can never cross over. It's just being shouldered away. So black's pawn will now push. And we won't even see that rook versus knight scenario that you highlighted a bit earlier, Robert. It's going to be the end of the game within the next 3 or 4 moves.
Leading the way with the pawn was smart by Parham Maghsoodloo. He never allowed the white king to cross, as you've been highlighting. And now it's just a couple moves away where black brings the king forward. The pawn promotes. But Anish, he really wants to somehow get his king in opposition with the enemy king and play rook versus knight. It's just not going to happen. And for Parham, he probably can even bring his king on over to a2. That might be the simple path. It doesn't matter, c2 or a2, but king b3, you no longer have to shoulder with your pawn so far advanced.
Yeah, I would shoulder here with king to d3 just to keep the white king too far away. Just not allow it any closer to the pawn. You shall not pass. But yeah, as you mentioned, Robert, at this point, every path leads towards a draw. As long as the black king gets to c2 or a2 in time, this is over. And there we go, king to d3. And Anish resigned to the fact this is now a draw. He's going to give up the rook for the pawn. We will see king versus king. And the handshake any second now. There we go. It's a draw.
And in true chess player fashion, immediately they start analyzing and talking about what could have been. And for Anish Giri, it could have been a full point lead ahead of Alireza Firouzja, but the draw has been held from Parham Maghsoodloo. So I think it's credit to Parham. He